Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Wisconsin Live Desk. My name is Nicola Junowitz. I'm your host this afternoon. It is Tuesday, August 26th at 12:30 local time. Let's get started, shall we? All right, we're going to begin right now in our nation's capital, where President Donald Trump is holding his cabinet meeting. Let's take a listen in.
President, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to work for you. And you committed when you ran for president to make America safe again. And today, the average family and individual that lives in this country is safer than they've been in years because of what you've done. We've got 3 months in a row now with 0 illegal aliens coming into this country. And I want to thank Pete and the Department of Defense for all of their help. They're down at the border with us still, helping us keep that border secure and make sure we know who's coming into this country. You've arrested and brought to justice hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens, but criminals that have perpetuated violence against American people. Sir, you've had 1.6 million people voluntarily go home to their home countries that were here in this country illegally. Because of your strong message and you enforcing the law, they decided to go home on their own so that they could come back the right way someday and be American citizens. But what I think is one of the most remarkable statistics is that under Joe Biden's administration, 88% of new jobs went to foreign-born individuals. Under your administration, 2.5 Americans have jobs today that they didn't under the previous administration. And they have those jobs because you created opportunities. You made this country safe. You opened up the economy. You enforced the law. Now people can get up and provide for their families and go to work every day and be confident in that. And the last thing I would say is that it's incredibly important to know that every one of those illegal aliens that has gone home, they were costing us about $8,700 to $9,000 a piece in what they were taking out of our social programs, out of Social Security.
So we're taking this.
You've saved this country billions of dollars, about $15 billion just in what those illegal aliens were costing us in social programs. I've cut over 450 different contracts at the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay, next.
We're getting rid of corrupt ones that were not efficient for taxpayers, weren't focused on our mission of keeping us safe. And we've also renegotiated and brought in our biggest vendors and said you have to do better. And we've saved the taxpayers over $13 billion doing that as well. So we're continuing to be accountable with taxpayer dollars, but sir, focused on doing the mission of what you've committed, and that's to keep us safe and to make sure we put Americans first.
Well, great job, and great job on the border. We had millions and millions of people coming.
So next.
3 months
Is my mic up right now?
0.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Or am I muted?
That's some job. Thank Tom and everybody. Pete,
Big
good
Tom.
job. Not surprised. Thank you very much. Chris, please.
Fantastic. Christy. Sorry about that, Mr. President. Like Secretary Noem, I'm thrilled to be here to work with you on the simple platform you were elected on, which was to bring back the American dream, to bring jobs and opportunity for families across the country and to lower their costs so they can live their lives and expand the choices they have. You led off today talking about gasoline prices. I'll throw in diesel. If you correct for inflation, they're at multi-decade lows. This is a huge expense. This is a huge constraint on people's lives. We should celebrate that. Natural gas has become our main industrial fuel powering factories around the country. Natural gas prices are quite low in this country, and they're lower than in any country in the world. The reason for that is the United States produces 2 times more natural gas than the second largest natural gas producer in the world, and 4 times more natural gas than the number 3 and number 4 producers in the world. So you've opened up American opportunity and energy together with the work of Secretary Burgum, Administrator Zeldin, Secretary Lutnick, Secretary Rollins. You know, we've made it easy to produce energy in America again, and those benefits are flowing. I could go on about this stuff forever, but let me talk about one specific area of energy, electricity. That's in the front of people's minds. When the day you were inaugurated, we get hold of all the data. We can look at the resource plans of utilities across the country. What you inherited when you arrived was a plan over the next 5 years to close 100 gigawatts of reliable electric generation. So that's 100 large power plants. Now that was offset with the plan to build 22 gigawatts of reliable electricity generation. Their plan was to close more than 4 times as much electricity generating capacity as they were going to build in that 5-year period. How do we lead the world in artificial intelligence if we're shrinking our supply of reliable electricity? How do we reshore steel and aluminum and automobiles and semiconductors and all those jobs Americans want back in our country when we're degrading and shrinking our energy system? We were going to hand that leadership to China in artificial intelligence, not just to our economic loss, but to our huge national security loss. Your team around this table, and almost everyone around this table is involved in it, is just to completely pivot dramatically. We're stopping the closure of all these plants way before their retirement date. Some plants get to their end of life. That's a small percent of the planned closures. Most of those were just political nonsense at the cost to American taxpayers. So we have rapid new construction of power plants in the United States. We're doing everything we can with suppliers who build the equipment for these power plants. They've got to build their factories bigger to build power plants in America. People thought those days were past. We weren't going to build big things in America anymore. We're just going to keep sending it over to Asia and overseas and just buy other people's stuff. Totally nuts economically, totally nuts for national security, and of course crushing for working Americans, particularly Americans that work with their hands. But we are seeing a revitalization of those people, of that optimism. You showed that picture of that plant being built in Arkansas, dozens of those under construction, just in artificial intelligence. But the reshoring of steel, of aluminum, of plastics, of fertilizer, semiconductors, like this, America's the land of opportunity. How did we get to become this awesome nation? Because we believed in the American dream and we leaned in on it. But the wealthy in our country and the coastal
you're taking
elites
a
that live
listen in
away
here
from where stuff's
live
actually
to
made,
a cabinet meeting that's happening right now at the White House. During this cabinet meeting, we've heard from a lot of different members here. The main
people realize the American
purpose so far seems to be, or the main theme I should say, the main issue that's being addressed is crime in America's largest cities. The cabinet meeting started out with conversations here. We heard from Homeland Security Secretary there, Kristi Noem, talking about not only the enforcement of illegal immigration policies, but also about what's been going on in D.C. You might recall that in the wake of President Donald Trump federalizing the Metropolitan Police in D.C., the city has seen some pretty significant success with it. As of Friday, during a press conference in the Oval Office, the president said that the city had gone, or the district, I should say, had gone 12 days without a homicide, which is impressive. Even the mayor also confirming that yes, this has helped to have some reinforcement here for our local police. During that same press conference on Friday, there were also conversations about would this be a strategy for safety that would be used in other American cities? And the answer to that question, it seems so far from the president, is yes. We are hearing that perhaps the next city that could be seeing some similar support from National Guard's troops would probably be Chicago. Chicago had a rough weekend. 6 people reportedly killed in the Windy City just this past weekend. One of them was a 5-year-old boy. So the president has been talking a bit about making this a little bit more widespread than just outside of our nation's capital. All right, let's get back here to this.
I think that was the mission of this administration and the Department of Labor. And I will continue to say for a little bit longer until I heard you today, the One Big Beautiful Bill, because it equals one big beautiful workforce. And Congress passed this legislation. It probably will be the single most important bill that they did sign, because it is protecting our American workforce by expanding Pell Grants and child care and reduction in taxes, that they can keep more of their hard-earned dollars. I am at the Department of Labor announcing $30 million in grants for our skilled workforce, that I have an MOU with Secretary McMahon. I have an MOU with Administrator Loeffler. That's important to share the data points on how important this is. In June, we awarded nearly $84 million in grants for the capacity of what? Registered apprenticeships, an executive order to have 1 million active apprentices across this nation, where we've already registered 185,000 since in the last few months. One of the other things that we have done is the Biden administration's guidance on cryptocurrency. And thanks to you and your leadership on that, we've rolled that back. And of course, we're going to see the 401k, the investors in our alternative assets. That's been key through the Department of Labor to work through. Partnering with our agencies, again, as I mentioned before, is important as we work together. I have visited, I'll be 31 states on my 50-state tour by the end of this month. I'm headed with Secretary Duffy, with the South Korean President Lee today as we move through the shipbuilding. We will do that in Philly, and then I'm off to New England to talk to those states about how important the apprenticeship program is. But while I visited Hexel in Salt Lake City, 100% domestic carbon fiber for the Department of Defense as they produce. They are announcing another $1 billion investment per your executive order on advanced manufacturing. So it is working. Everything that you have been saying since you were elected and since we all can put into play has been working. Ohio, McDonald's is investing 375,000 new jobs. The shrimpers I visited as well, and they need our help in protecting.
Okay, you were just taking a live listen here down to our nation's capital inside of the White House, where, as you can see, the Trump administration, members of his cabinet, are having a meeting. During this meeting, which began at the top of the hour here, the main focus here has been on national safety and security measures, in particular the recent federalization, you could say, of local police departments. D.C., just the latest example, already seeing some success with that, as National Guard members are being brought in to support local police departments. The president says that this is all in an effort to help make American cities safer and also to support local police. So that was one of the main themes, or one of the main talking points of the cabinet meeting that was today. We heard from Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, talking about that issue. Okay, let's head a little closer to home now if we can. I want to bring you up to speed on the situation involving severe flooding that we saw here about 2.5 weeks ago now. It's hard to forget that. That weekend in Milwaukee, that Saturday night, where we saw up to, my goodness, 15, 16 inches of rain in some areas, and that did wreak havoc on homes, businesses, parks, schools, the Wisconsin State Fair, you name it, it was impacted. Just about everybody was seeing some sort of effect from those severe floods. During that time, you might recall, us, along with Milwaukee County, really government leaders in general, we're all encouraging flood victims to reach out and to report their damage. And the reason why they were asking individuals to do this was because they're trying to get a feel for, just what is the price tag here of all of these flooding repairs that are going to need to be made. They wanted to get a feel for, how much damage was seen, as where and when. That way they can do an assessment, try to figure out, just how much support are people going to need. Obviously, a lot of folks are going to be filing, or probably have already filed insurance claims on this, but a lot of folks as well are hoping to get some sort of state or even federal funding. And so these reports, these numbers, help us do that. They help us kind of tap into and get access to relief money. Okay, so this is the latest data that we're getting here from Impact 211. We are learning that since those floods, 211 received about 24,000 reports all in. 24,000. About 8,500 of those were structural damage. We're talking, homes, businesses, things like that. The counties that saw the greatest effects, Milwaukee, Waukesha, Washington, and Ozaukee counties. And of the 23,528 total reports, this is a really staggering number here, 19,451 came from Milwaukee County. So Milwaukee County bearing the brunt of this storm damage. Just kind of painting a picture here for just how significant, how impactful the damage was from that storm. Okay, so lightening things up a little bit here before we head to break, and then we're going to send it over to the newsroom for Jason Calvi. He's going to be talking to us about a visit that we're getting from the Trump administration. Vice President J.D. Vance is set to come to the state of Wisconsin. He's set to visit La Crosse. We're going to talk to Jason about what this visit means, why the vice president is coming here, why he chose La Crosse, and also what he is here to talk about. We're also going to talk to Jason about his story today, which is on this very issue of getting federal disaster relief money for flood victims here in Southeast Wisconsin. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about back to school, shall we? I know a lot of kiddos were headed back to the classroom today. I love seeing all the back to school pics online. If kids are not going back today, they're probably going back next Tuesday. I know that's another popular day for kids to go back, is right there after Labor Day. Okay, so the Bucks are hosting back to school supplies, a back to school supplies drive. It's happening right now. It's from 1:30, it's until 1:30 this afternoon. During this time, they plan to serve more than 300 students, and families who show up will receive a backpack that is just stuffed full of school supplies. This is for the members of the Piper Hillside Boys and Girls Club. It started at 11 o'clock this morning, and again, it's going to go until 1:30 this afternoon. This is the fourth consecutive year that the Bucks and Fiserv Forum have teamed up to host this back-to-school supplies drive. This is in particular, I should say, for the Boys and Girls Club members. This year's event will also have, this is kind of neat, an exclusive basketball clinic for the students at Piper Hillside Boys and Girls Club. It's led by Bucks Director of Youth Camps, Lance Foreman. Members of the Bucks entertainment team, we know they're always awesome, and Bango, of course, the Rim Rockers will also be there as well, joining in on the clinic and entertaining students throughout this event today. Each of the more than 300 kiddos who come are going to get that free backpack full of supplies. In 4 seasons of this program, the Bucks have helped more than 1,200 students get ready to go back to school. I know moms and dads at home, if you're tuning in with us this morning, this afternoon, you know all too well how expensive those school supplies can be. Okay, let's send it now to a quick break here, and then on the other side of that, we are going to check in with our Jason Cal.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
The time now is 12:49. It is Tuesday, August 26th. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. My name is Nicola Junowitz. All right, let's continue here our coverage for this afternoon. I'm about to be joined now by a very special guest, a lovely colleague of mine, our political extraordinaire and reporter, Jason Calvi, is going to be live in the newsroom. Let's see if he is here with us. I'm so sorry. There we go. Forgive me, guys. Go on vacation for a week, you forgot how to do your job. Okay, there we go. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Nicola, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about this morning. First and foremost, you're telling me that we have breaking news on the case surrounding Judge Hannah Dugan.
Yeah, and just a reminder on this, Nicola, Judge Dugan was that Milwaukee County judge who federal grand jury and federal prosecutors accused of shielding an immigrant that was in her courtroom. There was waiting outside of that courtroom, ICE as well as other federal agents ready to arrest him after that court proceeding wrapped up. And the prosecutors alleged that she brought that immigrant through a private, through a doorway that's used just for the jury door, and then was able to kind of, what the prosecutors say, evade the waiting immigration agent. So that's the allegation. She'll have her day in court. But in the meantime, her defense attorneys have argued that this case should be thrown out completely. And today we have that breaking news that Judge Lynn Edelman says, no, this case will not be dismissed. It's going to go forward.
Jason, I'm so glad that you raised that issue because I know that this has come up, quite a bit. And this is not the first time, or this is not the first judge who's come forward and said, you know what, like, she's not above the law here.
That's what the Trump administration, that's what the Department of Justice has argued in their briefs. They say that the judge is not above the law. When we've, back and forth with these legal briefs, you saw her defense attorney saying that judges were protected. They had judicial immunity was the argument. And what that concept is traditionally is that if a judge were to, for example, sentence somebody to jail, that person couldn't come back and sue the judge in civil court for charge. So if the judge is doing their job, you can't go and sue them for their actions as a judge. That's judicial immunity, and it typically deals with this issue I just brought up, which is the idea of civil lawsuits in the future from, for example, somebody that you might sentence to jail. So that's where this concept comes into play. The Dugan camp, or the Dugan legal team, had argued that she was immune from her actions inside of the courtroom and therefore could not be prosecuted. So they said this case should not even be going forward and that the judge should dismiss the case. So it's gone through with the legal briefings. There was a magistrate judge who made a recommendation to the federal judge, Lynn Edelman, saying that this case should not be dismissed. And now today we have that breaking news that Judge Edelman says he makes that final determination. This case is going to move forward.
Okay, yeah, this is going to be really interesting. I know that, Jason, as you know as well, this is a case that really garnered national attention because these issues are coming up now that the Trump administration is putting an increased effort on illegal immigration enforcement. People are asking questions. Where is it appropriate for people who are in the U.S. illegally to be detained or taken into custody?
Right, and so this was an issue of whether or not this proceeding could take place, whether or not her actions were legitimate. Could she take somebody that she was told there was federal agents waiting outside of her courtroom? Could she then take this defendant that was in her court for domestic abuse, accused of beating up his roommates? Could she take him and bring him through the jury door that exits out a different a few feet down from where the normal exit is for the public? So that was the question. Now we know that this case is going to be moving forward and she'll have her day in court. There's going to be a trial. There will be evidence on both sides where she will be able to argue her case that she believes she was acting. She has judicial immunity. She still will argue, and she was acting as a judge in this case is what she's going to argue. The Department of Justice is going to say no, nobody's above the law, and they are going to accuse her of breaking the law.
Yeah, and motions to dismiss, all denied. So her legal team certainly making that effort. Okay, let's change gears now, Jason. I want to talk to you now, if we can, about a visit from the Trump administration to the state of Wisconsin. It seems like, Jason, and I know you are the perfect person to talk to about this because you were there kind of on the front lines during the 2024 presidential campaign. So you know just how many presidential visits we were getting during that time. It seemed like not even every week. It was twice a week leading up to the November election that the Wisconsin Battleground was seeing these events, these rallies, these speaking engagements. But it's been a minute now since we have seen I should say a candidate, but we've seen somebody from the White House come here.
Yeah, and so now we know, again, this is another piece of news for today. We know that Vice President J.D. Vance is going to be visiting Wisconsin on Thursday. He's going to be going to La Crosse, which is a crucial battleground swing area of the state. and he's going to be talking about that big, what Republicans have called, or what the president has called, the big beautiful bill. It's now law. And so they're going to be talking about that bill, and they're going to highlight things like the tax cuts that it has. It extends those Trump tax cuts from his first presidency, the first term in 2017, extends those tax cuts out. It does things like provide no tax on tips with certain requirements and thresholds there for servers and barbers and things like that. It also does things like invest in immigration enforcement, which ties in with the story we were just talking about with immigration enforcement in Milwaukee County. So it does all of these things, but we also know that polling has not been very favorable for this big, what Republicans call the big beautiful bill. Fox News poll in July found that 58% of those registered voters they polled were opposed to this law, and only about 40% of the people they polled supported it. So that's why you're seeing the vice president go out. He was in Georgia recently. Now he's going to be coming to battleground Wisconsin and laying out that argument, speaking directly to people in this battleground state about why they think this law really is important and will be beneficial for people. You know, Democrats are hammering them on this issue, and he's going to the 3rd Congressional District of Wisconsin, which is that swing area. You know, it was long held by a Democrat, that congressional seat, and only recently flipped in 2022. Ron Kine, the Democrat who had been in that seat since 1996, he had won election in 1996, and he had continued winning that seat all the way up, and then in 2022 decided not to run for re-election.
It's interesting for sure. And the details on this trip, as you know, Jason, are pretty limited right now. We do know that according to Taylor Van Kirk, this is a tweet that she put out. That's the vice president's press secretary. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. All she said was that, yes, Vice President Vance will come to La Crosse. That's this Thursday, so this is 2 days from now, to speak at a steel fabricating facility about the mega bill's benefits for manufacturing, which you, of course, just touched on. But in terms of, you know, which steel fabricating facility, what time, is this an event that it's just for people who work there? Is it open to the public? That's all to be seen. I know, Jason, you're always so good about keeping us up to speed on these things, so we'll stay tuned on that. Okay, last but certainly not least, because you've been so generous with me and with the Wisconsin Live Desk on your time today. I know you're working really hard on a story for our early evening shows on Fox 6 News. So walk me through what your story is today.
Well, we've seen those massive damage based on the flooding that we saw about 2 weeks ago, and people have been really asking a lot of questions about whether or not they're going to get federal help. Are they going to be helped by FEMA? That's the pressing question that's still outstanding. We can tell you that FEMA has wrapped up their assessments of damage to homes. So that work ended, and now the next step is going to be Governor Tony Evers can now ask President Donald Trump to declare a disaster. That hasn't happened yet, as far as we are told. That could happen as early as this week, where the governor will officially make that petition to FEMA Region 5, which is based out of Chicago. But really that appeal will then be sent to President Donald Trump, who makes the final determination. That's laid out in the Stafford Act. It's laid out in federal law. As far as this process, it has to be the governor that makes the request. After the joint assessment of damage is done, that joint assessment is now completed on homes, at least, not on the infrastructure for public streets and roads we've seen washed away by the floods. That'll be a separate assessment, but the assessment of damage to homes is wrapped up by FEMA. It was a joint combination work of the state going out with the federal workers from FEMA, and that work is finished. So now the next part of this process is the governor can ask President Donald Trump to declare this a disaster, and with that will come potentially federal money to help homeowners rebuild here in Wisconsin. We saw homes cave in. We saw, people dealing with mold and sewage in their basements. They had to throw out all of their possessions in the basement. A lot of people had clothes and computers and televisions and furniture. People often have people staying in the basements, living in the basements. So that's all stuff that's going to be ripped out and thrown out and weighted on the curb for crews to come and take to the dump. So the next question really is, what's going to happen with the FEMA aid? And we're looking into what the timeline has been for recent disasters in places like Indiana and Maryland and Virginia and Texas. They've had disasters declared by the president, so we're going to be looking at what those timelines have been.
All right, I know you're digging into as well, like, how much money are we talking here? Is this $500? Is it $1,000? Is it $10? Like, what is this? I mean, obviously every little bit helps, don't get me wrong, but we would hate for people to kind of get their hopes up or really be looking forward to this big federal check that just, it might not be. We don't know what it's going to be yet.
We don't. And I mentioned some of the recent disasters. I mentioned Maryland, and let me correct the record there. Maryland is actually appealing because the president of FEMA had denied Maryland's request for disaster declaration that would have helped homeowners in southern Maryland. They had some flooding. And so they're actually appealing. We also know that Indiana, they got some aid for public infrastructure. So again, those roads that might have been washed away with some recent storms and flooding, but they did not get the assistance for homeowners.
Sure.
So they're in Indiana, they're appealing to President Trump again to reconsider and saying both of these states, Maryland and Indiana, going back to the president saying, hey, we need this help. Can you please reconsider this decision to not award it to those individuals?
Certainly timely, and it's a question that a lot of people are wondering. You know, what are my options here for help, especially for folks who don't have flood insurance? This is very important. Okay, well, Jason, thank you so much for, again, being so generous with your time as always. We had a lot to talk about today, and I can't wait to see your story tonight on Fox 6 News.
Nicola, if I can just say one more thing, I think
Please.
it's really important to just share with our audience one more time, is the Red Cross, the American Red Cross, is now started their program to give some monetary help, to give some money away to flood victims. So we had all that information on our story last night, so check that out on the Fox local app or on our website, fox6now.com. Two main things to keep in mind with this American Red Cross money that's going to be coming to people is, one is your home cannot be livable.
Yeah.
So if your home is livable during the repairs, then you're not going to be eligible for this batch of money from the American Red Cross. But those who right now cannot live in their homes, we've seen a number of people whose houses caved in, those people potentially would be eligible. The American Red Cross says they're going to be reaching out to these people individually. They have a list of homes that might meet their criteria right now, but you can still also register online. We've got the link on the Fox 6 mobile app.
You know, Jason, it makes sense. They want this money to go to the people who need it most. So those qualifications, certainly understandable. All right, Jason Calvi, our political expert, joining us live in the newsroom. Thank you so much again for your time this afternoon.
Thanks, Nicola.
All right, we'll see you next time. Good luck on your story today, although I know you won't need it.
Well, appreciate your help. Thanks.
Of course. All right. Let's go now to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be digging into some more national content for you right now. So please.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Okay, so we are proving this afternoon that you never know what you're going to get during this hour-long show, although we don't really call it that here. It's kind of like a live program where we kind of take you to all these different news and events going on all across the country. So during this first hour so far of the Wisconsin Live Desk, we have covered everything from a cabinet meeting that is still going on in our nation's capital. We have talked about a back-to-school giveaway with the Bucks at Fiserv Forum that's going on until 1:30 this afternoon. It's benefiting the Boys and Girls Club and members there. We checked in with Jason. We talked about a lot of different subjects with him, one of them being a pretty significant breaking detail in the case surrounding Judge Hannah Dugan, and whether or not she acted illegally when she's accused, I should say, of protecting a man, a defendant in her courtroom, from being detained by ICE agents. We are now told that a federal judge has denied her latest motion to dismiss those charges. We also talked to Jason about what is going on with getting federal relief money for flood victims. As we know, so many members of our community here in Southeast Wisconsin were just so deeply affected by those floods that happened, oh my goodness, like 2 weeks ago now, a little bit more than that, as they continue to clean up the mess that was left behind. So Jason brought us up to speed on that. And now we're going to change gears a lot of it. We're going to take a hard left. We're going to take Miss Haley Spittler, our new breaking news. Are you there, Haley? Can you see me and hear me?
Breaking news. You know, I handle the breaking news for Wake Up. This is more on the fun side of breaking news, and that is, it's a love story, and she has said yes. Taylor Swift is engaged to Travis Kelce.
Oh my
huge
gosh.
headline right now. She posted this on Instagram with Travis Kelce. The photo posted 1 hour ago is at 10 million likes. I cannot believe how fast this is growing. Actually, I was sitting at my desk monitoring this. In the last 10 minutes, it's gone up by 2 million.
Oh my gosh.
So I started thinking, Nicola, I wonder what the most liked photo on Instagram is, because this has got to have a chance to beat it.
Agreed.
So it's Lionel Messi. He posted a photo back in 2022. It was a celebration photo with the FIFA World Cup. It got 75 million. So I'm going to argue, I mean, we're at 10 million with only an hour of it being online. I think we have a chance, Nicola.
Oh, girl, she's going to break the internet with this.
She is.
Okay, so did you watch that New Heights podcast that Taylor was on with her boyfriend Travis and his brother Jason?
So I watched a lot of it, and you and I were talking. Now, this is completely just we have a theory. I don't think that it was her boyfriend at the time. I think they were already engaged. I think they might have been holding this secret to themselves, and I think it makes sense then why she went there to announce her new album, because I think she was giving her fiance the inside scoop.
You're totally right. And I noticed, too, when they were talking, so it's interesting. Like, I usually don't listen to podcasts. I don't watch them. I listen to them when I go for a walk, when I'm cleaning my house, you know, things like that. But there was really interesting body language in this podcast. If you did watch the video format of it, where she was like gesturing her hand. Did you pick up on that? Like, there seemed to be little cues. Like, there was one point where, he kept saying like my girlfriend, and she would say my boyfriend. And the way she was emphasizing those words, it made it seem like, okay, why are you know what I mean? Like, it seemed like they were trying to play cool.
I feel like they were trying to remind themselves, like, hey, don't let it slip, we're fiancés. And I'm sure she was being a little fidgety with her hand, because have you seen the size of this ring, this rock?
Let's take a close-up of that.
If she wasn't wearing it during the podcast, I'm sure her hand was just feeling a little light, because this thing is massive.
I think it's really beautiful. It's like, it looks like it's some sort of, oh gosh, like, I can't tell what it's like a squoval. It's like right?
Looks a little vintage. I mean, she's earned it, because there's been a blank space on that finger for a while. See what I did there, Nicola?
No, you're so good with the puns, Haley. I love this. Okay, it's it says it's called an Old Mine Brilliant Cut Sparkler.
Oh, yeah.
It was co-designed by Kindred Lubeck of Artifacts Fine Jewelry and Kelce. So he also had a role in this ring.
Do we know how many carats?
Oh my gosh, 46. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Let me look it up. Okay, so for people at home who don't know, this relationship is going back now, 2 years?
Yeah. It started during the Eras Tour, because Travis had gone to Arrowhead, didn't get to meet Taylor, so he put it out on the podcast, I want to meet you, I want to give you my number.
which is so romantic. And I think at first she said that she thought it was kind of weird. She was like, why is this guy just whining about how he didn't get a meet and greet? Like, there's a protocol for this. She doesn't like to talk to fans or really anyone before her shows because she has to protect her voice.
Yeah.
But then I think it dawned on her, like, actually, this is kind of romantic. I've been singing about wanting this to happen to me for a long time, and now it's happened. So, I mean, I think it's very cute. What's interesting, though, is that, I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now we're back. First of all, where do you think this is? Like, is this at their house? Is this what her backyard looks like? Where's this magical forest?
Nicola, I might have. Oh, I think we're back. Sorry, I have to be. What were you saying?
Oh, I was going to ask you, where do you think that this is? Like, is this their backyard?
Oh, yeah, we were asking that ourselves in the newsroom of, yeah, where are these photos taken? Because it looks, I mean, like something out of a fairy tale. Today was a fairy tale. I think that's another one of her lyrics there. I think it's got to be her backyard. I mean, she has so many properties. She has so much money. I think that this looks like something she would have designed.
Right. And I'm just loving, like, look at the baskets. Because, like, nobody just has, like, a floral opah just waiting for their engagement in the backyard. I mean, this was a planned thing.
Unless you're Taylor Swift. That might just be there the whole time, Nicola. I don't know.
It's just a fixture in her garden. It's just so sweet. It really is so sweet. You know, I think regardless of what you feel about her, it's just, you know, it's nice to see people being happy.
Yes.
And, you know, obviously, I think her fans have been brought along for this ride of all these relationships that she's been in. And I know, unfortunately for her, she's kind of come under fire and been criticized for being kind of a serial dater. And now I think it's nice to see that she's found her person, right? Like, it kind of makes you feel, okay, there is somebody for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I gotta say, I'm not honestly that much of a Swiftie, but I have friends who are Swifties, and they are freaking out. I've gotten so many text messages from, I'm unwell, I can't believe I missed this, to just, I mean, group chats are just going off right now. So I think that if you give this a couple more hours, that Instagram is going to continue to get so many likes. Let's just refresh it for fun since we've been talking, Nicola, and see, oh, another million. Since just you and I have been talking, we're at 11 million now.
That is so many people. Like, think about
many people
on their phones right now, hearing about this. They have to see it for themselves. It's just, you know, it just kind of goes to show, and to her credit, you know, she's as a female, she's dealt with a lot in her career, and the fact that she is just this impactful to American pop culture right now, like, those numbers speak to that, just her influence on American music.
Yeah. Oh, I also hope that this is just like her sitting at home grinning, because you know that she has gotten so much flack now that she goes to these NFL games. She just wants to be a supportive girlfriend. Now she's going to be a supportive fiance, but people have hated it whenever they show her, you know, cheering on. They want just, hey, pay attention to football. So I love that now she's making yet another headline for herself. And I hope that she's, you know, kind of basking in this moment and being like, hey, I don't care. I'm going to keep being loud and proud about this relationship.
As she should be. And I mean, that ring is certainly loud and proud. Definitely not a paper ring.
No, not at all. I like what you did there, Nicola. I hope there's Swifties watching right now.
I guess we'll find out. Haley Spittler, our brand new breaking news anchor. Before I let you go, I wanted to ask you, how are you liking Milwaukee so far? Welcome. You made your Wake Up debut last week when you were introduced, and then your first day on air was Monday.
Yes.
How are you adjusting?
Oh, I am loving Milwaukee. I know I mentioned it when I was kind of introduced on air, but I've had the pleasure of getting to live in Wisconsin before, in western Wisconsin. Started my career in La Crosse and then lived in Eau Claire, which, Nicola, I know you did as well. So it's been so nice to be back here in the Badger State. I forgot how friendly everyone is. I have met almost all of my neighbors. They are the sweetest people. I don't know how many neighbors I met over the course of the last 3 years, but that has definitely quadrupled probably just in a couple of weeks here in Milwaukee. And I gotta say, today's weather, beautiful. I love the fall temperatures, and I feel like it was an extra special gift because it is, you know, the release day of pumpkin spice lattes, and it feels like fall outside, so it was perfect.
Yeah, it was like Mother Nature manifested. PSL day at Starbucks. All right, Haley Spittler, thank you so much. I'm going to let you get back to what you're doing. You've been so generous with your time with me already. Thank you so much. And our viewers at home on the Wisconsin Live Desk can see Haley pretty often, I would say, kind of in this role here in this spot. So thank you for your time today.
Of course. Congratulations to all the Swifties and to Taylor and Travis.
Yes, this is a celebration for you too. All right, thank you so much, Haley. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, well, see, we got quite the variety of news here on this show. You can't say that. We don't give people a nice, well-balanced meal. So now, without further ado, I'm going to send us over to break here. We're going to regroup, see what's going on in the world.
The Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. My name is Nicola Junowitz. Once again, proud to be your host here for the 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. portion of our program today. We've covered a lot of different topics right now. We've talked about some breaking news involving Judge Hannah Dugan and the case surrounding her. We've also talked about what is going on with getting Southeast Wisconsin residents federal relief money following those devastating floods from about 2.5 weeks ago. We've also talked about Taylor Swift and the breaking news on that. She is officially engaged to Travis Kelce. She's been with now for 2 years. It's a love story, you could say, that a lot of folks have been following, whether you're a fan of the NFL or her music. A lot of folks invested in this. And now we're going to change gears quite a bit. We're going to check in with the cabinet meeting that is going on right now. President Trump is holding his 7th cabinet meeting right now inside of the White House in our nation's capital. Actually, right this very moment, United States Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, who used to be a representative from the 7th District of the state of Wisconsin from 2011 to 2019, he is speaking about crime and how it affects transportation, how crime in major American cities is impacting things like subways, buses, things like that. So without further ado, let's listen in now to the 7th cabinet meeting for the President Trump administration.
Not just, rich guys sending up rockets in partnership with NASA. There's a whole industry of working men and women who we celebrate design the rockets that are making America the leader in space. So thank you for your leadership, and happy to celebrate
Thank you very
this
much,
weekend with you, Mr. President.
Really great. And he is doing a good job at NASA too, and we are, I think we'll have some pretty exciting announcements.
Yes, we do.
And you enjoy it.
It's been fun.
I said, how about temporary? He said, well, can I go a little bit longer? He loves it. He loves it, and he's doing a really good job. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Howard, please.
So, making America great again is one of the key statements, and people don't always understand what you mean. So we always talk about 1870 to 1913, but in the mid-1980s, America owned more of the rest of the world than they owned of us. We owned $140 billion of the rest of the world net of what they owned of us. And when you came into office this time,
Okay, I want to bring our viewers here up to speed on what you just heard there from the United States Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. You just heard him there congratulating President Donald Trump, and what I believe he was referring to was some good news coming out of our nation's capital in terms of crime numbers. Now, since the federal support, National Guard members were brought in to help the Metropolitan Police Department in D.C., they have seen a noticeable drop in carjackings, robberies, and while obviously, there are some statistical fluctuations that we're going to see from week to week, they can note that city has had 0 homicides since August 13th. So we are going on 13 days now and counting with no homicides, which is a lot for, or I should say that is a good news for any city, but especially D.C. that prior had seen quite notable violence. Okay, let's listen back in now.
Japan and Korea, they're never going to open their markets to us. So we've negotiated $900 billion that they're giving you to invest in national and economic security in America. The European Union, the second largest economy, $20 trillion. And all the experts said you'd never get a deal done with them. And watching you in Scotland was my favorite thing, right? 15%, they'll pay us 15%. And we will pay 0. So we can export to their $20 trillion economy, and they can pay to come to the great American consumer, right? So, a couple of other things. 4 days before you took office, the Commerce Department, which had the CHIPS money, they set up this thing called NatCast, which was a make-believe not-for-profit. And they signed contracts to wire them $7.4 billion. This was just nonsense. So we stopped the payment. We've got the money. It's an illegal thing to try to set up a department that's not the Department of Commerce, that kind of acts like the Department of Commerce. And what was it filled with? all these people who work for the Biden administration. I mean, it's exact corruption that you talk about. $7.4 billion now clawed back. Last week was the most fun. In 1 week, Intel came in, right? The Biden administration had given $11 billion to Intel, given it to them, done. Corporate just gift. And you turn that into really, you know, it was like less than 5 minutes of conversation, and Intel agreed to give us 10% of their company, which of course was worth $11 billion. So it's not socialism. This is capitalism. If you give someone $11 billion, who's just building in America, they're not doing something special, they're building in America. And their CEO told the president he didn't need the grant. And you said, well, then why don't we get something for it? So it's amazing. You're going to watch semiconductors come home, right? We don't produce semiconductors. We've got $165 billion for TSMC, but you're going to watch the whole ecosystem come home because Donald Trump is the only president who understands the magnet to make them come home is one word, which used to be a favorite word. Now it's dropped to number 4, which is tariffs. Right? Tariffs are going to bring semiconductors home. They are going to empower Bobby to execute MFN. Tariffs are going to be one of those tools that he's going to use to do that. We're going to do it for furniture. We're getting autos. We got steel, aluminum. I mean, it has been a blast, a blast. So 2 more things. The Department of Commerce is going to start issuing its statistics on the blockchain because you are the crypto president. And we are going to put out GDP on the blockchain so people can use the blockchain for data distribution, and then we're going to make that available to the entire government so all of you can do it. We're just ironing out all the details so we can do it. Patents. We have given tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars to universities for them to do research, and they invent things. And you know who owns those patents? The universities. So we are going to make a deal with them all, which is if we give them the money, don't you think it's fair that the United States of America and the taxpayers who funded it get a piece of that, right? So we wrote a letter to Harvard, so Linda and I are working together. I mean, it's so much fun to work with everybody here. I mean, we just have a blast, you know, because Linda's hitting Harvard and she says, what can we do? And now we send them a patent letter and we'll hit them again. So we're having fun together. This is the greatest cabinet working for the greatest president. And I just want to say thank you. I'm having the time of my life working for you, Mr. President.
Thank you. That was very well stated, wasn't it? Some things people don't think of too much. Thank you very much. Great job. Pete?
Sure. Well, amen to what Howard said. And I would just say, heading into Labor Day from the American military, sir, we happen to be the largest employer in America. We like to think we have a different form of employees who need to be the toughest and the strongest and the most well-trained and the most lethal. And under the previous administration, and for decades, frankly, it was social justice, it was political correctness, it was divisive ideologies seeping into the ranks and changing how well we do our job. No more. Now it is only merit-based, gender-neutral, colorblind. The best of the best from the top to the bottom. That's our expectation. And sir, you've enabled that. So from the troops directly, which they ask me to say all the time, thank you for your leadership, for your boldness, for your clarity, for common sense, for providing a shield for the rest of us to put America first and to apply peace through strength. We're in the strength business. That's our job, is to stand behind everybody here and alongside John in everything they do to keep the country safe. And the world is noticing. And I wish everybody could. There were 2 meetings yesterday that I think tell the story. One was, because today happens to be the 4-year anniversary of what happened at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Mr. President, you had the families in, who you've met with multiple times, who when the cameras were on and not on acknowledged, sir, you were the only one that gave them a proper greeting, that recognized what they gave their sons and daughters.
I'm so sorry. I did not realize that my mic was muted. I was just trying to bring you up to speed here on what you just heard. Again, this is the 7th cabinet meeting for the President Trump administration. During this time, we have heard from several cabinet members, including Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. We've also heard from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Now we are hearing, of course, from United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. A big theme for this meeting today has been safety, especially in light of federal National Guard members being brought into American cities to help support local police departments there. In the last week or so, our nation's capital has seen pretty good results from this program, and so now, of course, the question remains, will this be expanding the strategy for safety to other American cities? I guess only time will tell there, but there has been talk that Chicago could be next in line to receive this kind of federal support. Okay, so let's take a quick break here if we can, and I will see you again on the other side of this break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. My name is Nicola Junowitz. It is Tuesday, August 26, 1:29 p.m. And let's take a live look here at beautiful downtown Milwaukee, if we can. Oh my gosh, looks like a picture-perfect day. Would you check out those Bob Ross clouds there? Just looks like a painting, just stunning out there. We are in for a cool and crisp day again today, according to FOX 6 Chief Meteorologist Rob Haswell. Our next chance for rain is coming up, though, on Wednesday, and that is going to come after a little bit of a warm-up also tomorrow. Today, your high is 72 degrees if we have not reached that already. It is breezy, it is cool. Now, tomorrow night, this is the night that you're going to want to watch here. We're going to see some rain and storms late, and then a cold front is going to come in, and that's going to bring some also rougher conditions on the lake. As for your holiday weekend, it's looking pretty dry, but again, it's going to be chilly. So if you were getting excited to head out on the boat, which I think a lot of folks were, a lot of people pack up their piers from their cottages and their lake houses this weekend, you might want to bring some blankets on that boat if you have one, because it is going to be chilly. Also, we could be seeing some slightly choppy water and lake conditions as well. Okay, so that is a quick look at your weather here. Now we're going to send it back down to our nation's capital, where President Donald Trump is hosting his 7th cabinet meeting of his administration. Now it looks like we are hearing from Marco Rubio. So let's take a listen in, shall we?
Physical border, we are doing things ahead of time to prevent this from happening and getting cooperations from countries that we've never seen before. And last, I would say, and Steve touched upon this, who, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job. Steve is both a great negotiator and he's also a nice guy, which are two tough things to pull off together. But it's incredible. But we both work for the peacemaker in chief. Think about it, how fortunate we are as Americans to have a president who's made peace a priority. And just since the last time we've met, there was a war going on in Cambodia and Thailand. between Cambodia and Thailand. The president just picks up the phone and tells them to stop fighting, and within 72 hours, the fighting had stopped. You know, there's no other leader in the world that could have done it. And the fact that you were willing to spend time to do that and to make it happen is, of course, essential. And then the war that didn't happen because of Azerbaijan and Armenia coming here to sign that peace deal, which is historic in so many countries. You know, many countries said, oh, it's never going to happen, it isn't possible. And it occurred, Mr. President, because of your leadership. And then on a point of personal privilege, I wasn't even going to raise it. I haven't even talked to you about this. It's a little controversial, but I think I need to bring it up at this time of year. This thing about people getting married on Saturdays during college football season is a scourge, Mr. President. It's dividing families. And I don't know if we can have an executive order on this, just saying, but it's really difficult. There's 7 other months of the year that people could get married, so I just wanted to say that because it's very, very difficult. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Doug, please.
Well, Mr. President, you've heard from around the table how people are grateful to have an opportunity to be part of this team, have an opportunity to work for you, and have an opportunity to serve the American people. And I would say as we head into this Labor Day, the thing that really differentiates you and your leadership and everybody around this table is one word, and that's respect. Because this is a group of people that respect our farmers and ranchers. We respect the people that are in law enforcement. That's a huge change. Respecting the people that are in uniform, respecting our veterans, respecting our shrimp fishermen. I mean, whoever it is in this country, people that are building our roads. This whole group embodies that sense of respect. And when we start with that, then who benefits? We come up with policies that help those people. And what have you done? You've led an opportunity for us to have the lower taxes, way lower deregulation, record amounts of investment that's coming into this country. We're going to be seeing lower interest rates. All of those things coming together is a gift to the working people. The policies are lifting everybody up. There's 140 million Americans that get up and go every day and drive to work. They commute. And one of the most obscene things of the prior administration was their energy policies was creating a hidden tax on those people. The poorer you were, usually the further you had to drive because you couldn't afford the housing if you were working at a hotel, if you were working in a service industry. We were taxing them. A hidden tax on them was the high cost of energy. You were perhaps one of the only leaders in the world that understood the connection between peace abroad and prosperity at home was directly connected to energy policy. You came in and said, we're going to sell energy to our friends and allies. We're going to bring prosperity at home through policies here by having lower energy prices. And we're going to stop funding wars abroad with energy policies that help their adversaries and hurt us. You said we're going to sell energy to our friends and allies. And with the work that Jameson and Howard and Scott and everyone has done on these trade deals, we're going to have an opportunity to have a renaissance in American energy, selling energy to the world, which is going to help bring peace abroad. But the real key thing in closing I want to say is 2 things. One has to do with the U.S. Park Police. That's the group here in Washington, D.C. They're the oldest uniform law enforcement group in the nation. You coming out and visiting with them in person before they went out on the surge. Not only are carjackings down, muggings down, homicides down, everything down, morale is through the roof. Just like Pete saw, we've got record people signing up to want to be part of our military. You have breathed life back into the profession of law enforcement. Your respect for law enforcement is so incredible. It's making a difference. And then us giving them the tools. On a lighter note for everybody here, one of the rules that under President Trump we were able to change for the U.S. Park Police was they could do a pursuit. I was shocked to find out when we were talking to them, like, oh, you pull somebody over and they just drive away and you can't pursue them? I mean, and they said, no, we can't. They said, all rules. We got that rule changed in 24 hours because of President Trump's leadership. The next night, they had so much fun. They pulled people over. They started to take off. They chased them. They stopped them. And then the bad guys, some of these guys were in cars that had stolen plates. So they take the plate off. They steal them off somebody else's car. They know it. The plate doesn't match. They know they're doing this thing. The bad guys in the car said, What, you're not supposed to chase us. Like, you're breaking the rules. The bad guys are telling us, no, we're back in action. So it's like, and so the morale is high. They all wanted to say thank you to you. Yesterday, you announced increasing the number of U.S. Park Police that we're going to hire. This is the group that protects not only our sacred monuments of democracy here, but also the Statue of Liberty and the Golden Gate. This is a great group, but on behalf of all law enforcement, we say thank you. And as Chris Wright was talking about electricity, I want to close with that.
we've solved amazing things in 7 months, but the big challenge we have against the remaining is, I mean, solving Iran's nuclear thing, that was an existential threat. China beating us in the AI arms race, that's an existential threat. We finally have a president who talks about it. You talked about it in your opening remarks. You've signed executive orders. You understand that essentially we used to say hundreds of years ago, people started saying that knowledge is power. But now, for the first time in history, we can take electricity and we can convert it into intelligence. So it's flipped. It's no longer knowledge is power. Power is also knowledge. And while we're ahead on the technology, we're way behind China on the amount of electricity they're bringing online. And your strong position to support affordable, reliable energy using our nation's resources, including those across the Department of Interior, bringing back coal mining, bringing back mining, bringing back timber. All the industries that have been killed in this country are coming back to life because of you. And with your leadership, we have a chance to not only win the AI arms race, but actually dominate it the way we're dominating in other things. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And we're leading that race right now by a lot. And we're going to keep the electricity coming. You know, in China, they do it very quickly. They have one person that says, do it, and that's it. But essentially, we have one person that says, do it, and we've given that order, and the job they've done has been amazing, and I want to thank again, Lee, what you're doing in that regard is so important, and the rapidity, just as fast as them, because it's a question of a week versus a day, and that's not going to make a difference, but you've done fantastically, and Doug and Chris, amazing job. So we've done this for a little while now. I don't think you've ever seen anything like it. And you know, I think Sean was right. These guys that are holding these up, if you ever try holding your hand out for 2 hours, that's a long time. These are pretty strong characters. You've been doing that a long time, I guess. Congratulations. Are you getting tired? Are you getting tired? I'm looking at these guys. They look like they have no problem. It's amazing, actually. It's, I think they would have beaten you guys in the test. So I want to thank you. If you want, you know, it's been a long time. If you want, we could go in and we can call it a day.
No, we have questions. Just a few questions, Mr. President.
And feel free then to ask some of the questions here. Look, I believe in very open, you know, we want to be open, above board. We want to be honest with the media. I wish the media was totally honest with us, but I think they're getting better, to be honest with you. And so we'll see, but if you want to take a few questions.
Mr. President.
On a serious note, when it comes to Fed Governor Lisa Cook, her lawyer has said that they're going to be filing a lawsuit challenging this legal action. What is your response? Are you prepared for a legal fight? And then a little bit more of a happy question, sir. And there's a lot of football.
I had a legal fight that went on for years with crooked people, with very horrible people, people that have been found out now between John Ratcliffe and Tulsi and Pam, and I mean, the things that we found out, of course, it's a very, very sad group of people. But no, she seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, especially that infraction, because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages, and we need people that are 100% above board, and it doesn't seem like she was. Yeah.
Mr. President, first, I would love to ask you a serious question, but I have to tell you the biggest pop culture news of the year broke while we were in this cabinet meeting. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
On a serious note, Mr. President, in May, Secretary Rubio said that they were aggressively removing visas of Chinese students. Yesterday, you said you wanted to allow 600,000 Chinese students to study in the United States. Could you and the Secretary clarify what is the policy on Chinese students in the United States of America?
Well, we think we're, look, we're getting along very well with China. And I'm getting along very well with President Xi. I think it's very insulting to say students can't come here, because they'll go out and they'll start building schools and they'll be able to survive it. But I like that their students come here. I like that other countries' students come here. And you know what would happen if they didn't? Our college system would go to hell very quickly. You'd have, and it wouldn't be the top colleges. It would be colleges that struggle on the bottom. And you take out 300,000 or 600,000 students out of the system. I like having And I told this to President Xi, that we're honored to have their students here. Now, with that, we check and we're careful and we see who's there, and Marco wants that. We're in the same position. But we have a tremendous college system, the best in the world. Nobody even close. That's why China sends them here. And you can call it an industry if you want, but you're talking about millions of people. And I'm honored to have the students from China come here. And we're just getting along very well with China. It's a different relationship that we had for years, where they took hundreds of billions of dollars, just sucked it right out of our country. They respect us again. I respect them. The relationship is very good. I think it's important that these are two very major powers, nuclear powers at that, but two very important powers. You know, when I get along with Putin, when I get along with President Xi, when I get along with these people, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. We're tough and we're smart and we're strong. We get along. It's a lot better than not getting along. You had somebody in here before, the war should have never started with Ukraine and Russia. It would have never started. And Putin said that himself. President Putin said that himself. So we want to see college students come in from countries. There are some countries that we can't necessarily say that. These are places that have ideologies that we can't live with. So there are some areas, some countries that we can't say that. But we're honored to have the students come here.
Mr. President?
Yeah, please.
Mr. President, yesterday you said that within 2 to 3 weeks we would have a pretty good conclusive end to the war in Gaza. What did you mean by that? And can you tell us more?
What?
In the war in Gaza, you said you said in 2 to 3 weeks we would have a conclusive end, a pretty good conclusive
It's not
end.
conclusive. It's been going on for a long time. You're talking about, I guess if you really add it up, Steve, you're talking about thousands of years, okay? It's been going on for, there's nothing conclusive, but hopefully we're going to have things solved very quickly with regard to Gaza and also with regard to Ukraine and Russia.
Mr. President,
you also
said,
Mr. President, who are you considering for the replacement to nominate for Lisa Cook, and what economic background or history are you
Well, we
hoping
have
to
some
see?
very good people for that position, and I think we have some very good people. We're down to, I mean, I think I maybe in my own mind have somebody that I like, but I deal with Scott and I deal with Howard, and we're dealing with a lot of people actually that are going to be involved in that decision. Ultimately, it's a very important decision. As we see, I mean, I got a bad recommendation when I went with Jerome Too Late. You know, he's Too Late. Nickname is Too Late, costing us a lot of money, hurting the housing. I mean, our housing industry is good, but it could be phenomenal. Most of this country, in economic terms, has been phenomenal. We've never seen anything like it. Because of him and his high interest rates, the housing is less than it could be. We're going to get that straightened out very quickly. He gets out very quickly, fortunately. He's been the wrong guy. Not a bad person, I don't think, but you know, I do think he has motives, by the way, but I don't
Good afternoon. You're listening to President Trump, a cabinet meeting, hosting a variety of questions from the media, everything from the war in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas, as well as what is happening with the Federal Reserve. We are now going to bring it local here, and our Abril Preciado is in the newsroom. And Abril, you are studying or looking at how Milwaukee Public Schools, they're getting ready now for the school year, and that starts, if you can believe it, 1 week from today.
Hey Kim, how are you? And you're not completely wrong. I am studying, and we are, you know, a lot of kids are getting ready to hit the books again as they make their way back to campus next Tuesday. But obviously, as they're prepping up and getting ready for that, so is Milwaukee Public Schools. We know that the school district has encountered several things just in this past year. You know, dealing with lead, dealing with the buildings being a little older, and now also even tackling the damage that was caused by the flooding that we had about 2 weeks ago. So it's been a lot that they've been tackling, obviously, as we know, and as we have been reporting for the most part of this year, is the lead crisis that they've been tackling. The people with or actually officials with the public health department, they say that they have been working on several schools. I believe it's about
So let me
50 of
jump
them?
in here, Abril. So there were so many schools, and it seemed at the beginning of the summer there was so much time for facilities and maintenance to jump in and start cleaning those schools. But now here we are, and then we had flooding on top of that. So are there schools come next week that will not be ready?
So as far as we know right now is that there were 24 confirmed schools that were impacted by the flooding. 22 of those had had minor impacts with the flooding, but 2 of those were like the hardest hit, and those are Barack Obama School of Career and Tech Education and Riverside University High School. As far as we know right now, from what Dr. Cassellius has explained and spoken about in previous gaggles, is that they're hoping to have everything assessed right on time before the school starts next Tuesday. Now, what we know as well is that another thing that they have also encountered, and let me check at my notes. Again, like there's a lot of information coming in, and obviously this is important. We want to make sure that everyone is also is aware. We know that in 12 schools, due to the age of the building, they were able to find or detect, for a better word, asbestos that was found in the tile work. And right now they're currently assessing those schools as well that found those asbestos. And again, Dr. Caselli says that they have right now crews working through them and looking at those schools, and they hope to have everything cleared, make sure that it is tested before school starts again. And and according to a press release that was also sent by Milwaukee Public Schools, is that they will have that they will make sure to test out everything before letting staff and students back in the classrooms and back in the building.
We know that's a priority, and I know that you have a deadline coming up shortly. So the bottom line is that there are still a lot of things to be covered before kids go back to school. There's the flood damage that some schools are still dealing with, and the end of the remediation for the lead cleanup. And now we're hearing about asbestos. Not sure if that's because of the flooding or what, but you'll have all those details coming up on Fox 6 News later. Thank you, Abril, for your time, and thanks for sticking around.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you are watching the Wild Desk, the second hour for this Tuesday. So much is going on. Entertainment-wise, I know, should have led with this, right? Taylor Swift and Taylor, he may be Taylor Kelsey after it's all done with. Travis Kelce and Taylor Smith, they're engaged. There's been speculation for a year now. I was one of the naysayers who thought that this was just a publicity stunt for Taylor, but it seems like it's going strong, and now there is a ring. He put a ring on it. We're going to take a break and come right back right after this.
Wisconsin Live Desk.
Happening right now, SpaceX is attempting another launch after 2 failed attempts for this most recent mission. Right now, the countdown clock is 2 minutes and 41 seconds and counting. Things look good. This is Falcon 9. It's a launch mission from the Space Launch Complex that is at the East Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The window, like I said, it is open. It is happening. It looks good. If this happens, T minus 2 minutes and 17 seconds, this will be the 27th flight for the first stage booster supporting this mission, which launched Sentinel-6 and some other space missions. So we're going to see if we can boost the sound here as we prepare for launch. T minus 1 minute and 55 seconds.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
With the completion of Stage 2 LOX load, the second stage is fully loaded. Now shortly here, you'll see a white cloud venting from the TE LOX line.
Ground gas closeout.
Gas closeout here refers to venting of the gaseous systems, like topping off the tanks and then sealing vents to maintain pressure. Now at T minus 1 minute, Falcon 9 will be in startup, and stages 1 and 2 will begin pressurizing for launch.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Finally, we'll be awaiting the launch go pull from our launch director, confirming all systems are ready.
LD is go for launch.
T minus 27 seconds.
And there we heard our launch director. Falcon 9 is go for launch, so let's sit back and listen in to the final countdown.
T minus 3 seconds. T minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go, take it, go now. Vehicle's pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
At T plus 30 seconds and counting, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 4E, and in just a moment we'll throttle the engines down in preparation for max Q, a period of maximum aerodynamic pressure. This is a critical moment during flight because the combined stresses
telemetry nominal
caused by Falcon 9 accelerating through the atmosphere and the ambient static pressure are at their greatest.
Falcon 9 is supersonic. Max Q.
The rocket has just passed through max Q, again where it experiences the greatest mechanical stress during flight. You can track our progress to orbit by watching the left corner of your display showing first stage, velocity, and altitude. Now, we have several events coming up in quick succession, and we should hear these all called out by mission control, starting with main engine cutoff, or MECO, then stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start, and the start of boost back burn. Main engine cutoff is where we shut down all 9 Merlin 1D engines
nominal
on the first stage. Stage separation is when the first and second stages of Falcon 9 separate from one another. Stage 1 flip is when the booster uses its nitrogen gas thrusters to flip the booster around. And depending on the mission, it will perform a fast or slow flip. Today will be a fast flip, returning to the landing site on land. Second engine start will relight the MVAC engine, and a few seconds later, the boost back burn will begin as the booster heads towards landing zone at Vandenberg.
Main engine cut off. Stage separation confirmed.
So what's happening here is SpaceX
MVAC ignition.
Falcon 9 is actually
Stage
serving
1
as
boost
a
back
ride
startup.
share. It is helping launch a Luxembourg military recon satellite. And so 8 minutes after
And there
the
we
launch,
heard the callouts for a successful
Falcon
main
9
engine
is going to
cutoff,
return
stage
back-
separation, stage 1 flip, and second engine start 1, as well as the start of boost back burn. We're now waiting for fairing deployment on the second stage. Oh,
Fairing separation confirmed.
great views here on your screen, and confirmation of fairing separation. Now the boost back burn is ongoing, and we expect shutdown shortly here.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown. Both trajectories are nominal.
Great confirmation of boost back burn shutdown, which concludes the first of 3 burns that the first stage will perform on its way back to Vandenberg. You can see the MVAC engine still powering our second stage to its target orbit.
So again, Falcon 9 in this instance was kind of used
Now,
as a
at T plus
taxi.
about 4 minutes into today's mission, the next major milestone coming up will be at the T plus 6 minute and 22 second mark, where you should see the first stage's entry burn on your screen. To start that entry burn, we will relight 3 of the M1D engines on the first stage, starting with the center engine, known as E9, followed shortly by E1 and E5. This is similar to pumping the brakes to slow the vehicle down as it passes back into Earth's atmosphere. We need to do this to slow down re-entry and reduce re-entry forces, which helps us recover and reuse the first stage. During that entry burn, Falcon 9 is decelerating by firing its Merlin engines, but the vehicle will still be moving really fast. This causes it to fly through Merlin's exhaust gases, also known as the rocket's plume.
Both trajectories remain nominal.
Now this will deposit a layer of soot on the vehicle's surface, and that's why our flight-proven vehicles look the way they do. The soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses. With each flight, it builds up a little bit more on the outside of the vehicle. Now we're still over a minute away from the beginning of that entry burn. You can keep an eye on the first and second stage telemetry on the bottom of your screen. Second stage is still increasing speed and heading to its desired orbit. Reusability is key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, enabling more investments in critical space infrastructure. The Falcon 9 stage performing today's mission is performing this entry burn for the 27th time tonight. Now this entry burn is slotted to last around 21 seconds, and again we are slowing the vehicle down in preparation for final burn and landing.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
This is the 37th Falcon 9 rocket launch from Vandenberg Space Force
Stage 1
Base
entry burn
this
shutdown.
year.
And there's the call out for entry burn shutdown, which is the completion of the Falcon 9 first stage entry burn. Coming up next will be the landing burn, which will start in less than 1 minute.
What you just witnessed is Falcon.
Now, the Merlin engines on the Falcon first stage are optimized for sea level and achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent.
Is essentially a space ride share vehicle, launching a satellite, defense satellite for
The landing burn will be the final burn of the Falcon 9 booster.
Stage 1 transonic.
And it's used to reduce the remaining speed of the vehicle for a gentle and precise landing.
Stage 1 and Stage 2 FTS have saved. Stage 1 landing burn.
Landing burn has begun on the Falcon 9 first stage. This is the final burn the booster will perform before touching down.
Landing light deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there you saw and heard the call out for successful landing of our Falcon 9 rocket. Again, this was the 27th launch and landing for this first stage. Now coming up next, we'll be hearing a call out for second engine cutoff 1, or SECO 1, which will be the shutdown of the second stage MVAC engine. After that, we'll be looking for confirmation of good orbital insertion.
You've just witnessed something that has now kind of become commonplace. So many satellite launches using the SpaceX Falcon 9. Basically, those satellites are attached to the Falcon 9, and the Falcon 9 takes them to orbit, as far as orbit, and then they separate, and then the satellites go on about their way, and then the SpaceX Falcon 9 returns back to where it launched from. This happened in 8 minutes. So this has become a very well-oiled machine. We're going to take a break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and when we return, we're going to check in on what's happening in Milwaukee County courts. A former public defender, Travis Schwantes, is in court. He is the former public defender who pled guilty in a prostitution case. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Live Desk.
I don't see every issue that I've talked about. And again, there's probably no way to.
And welcome back to the
of
Wisconsin Live
that's been
Desk.
going
Let's
on
get
to
you right now to what is happening in a Milwaukee County
summarize
court.
every detail
This
of
is the
the court, but I
sentencing
still
for the former public defender Travis Schwantes. He right now is in Judge Jeffrey Kremer's court. He was appointed to hear this case. The judge is retired. The felony charge that Schwantes pled guilty to does carry a maximum of a possible 18 months in prison, followed by 2 years of extended supervision. Prosecutors, though, could recommend conditional jail time, probation, and a fine. The former public defendant is accused of paying clients for sex, and he did plead guilty, that is, to several charges after trying for months to get some of the more serious charges dismissed. So this is the sentencing for Travis Schwantes. Let's listen.
His role in the criminal justice system from the conduct he engaged in. It is a necessary fact that he was a public employee to be charged with misconduct, to have committed misconduct. It is not, he is not being prosecuted for that fact. It is a necessary fact. So it's not a targeting, it's not anything like that. In fact, when this came in, victim 1 was arrested and without prompting indicated the defendant was a client of hers. This information wasn't sought out. And what did she say when she was arrested? She was saved. And again, I point that out, Judge, because that is not a unique circumstance for the people who are involved in this. So the gravity of the offense, I do think a lack of in custody time would unduly depreciate the gravity of this offense. I think it would send the wrong message for the community based on the gravity of the offense, the amount of conduct here that was unethical aside, illegal. No one's all good, no one's all bad, and the defendant has done some wonderful, amazing things, and no doubt will do some wonderful, amazing things in the future. But that doesn't mean this is inappropriate either, this request by the state. So that's the request, that's the basis for it. I think the court should follow it. Thank you, Judge.
And to catch you up here, Travis Schwantes pled guilty in July for falsifying paperwork to qualify for a public defender as party to a crime. That's a felony. And then also to 2 prostitution-related misdemeanors. The other charges that were more serious, including 2 felony counts of misconduct in office, were dismissed as part of a deal with prosecutors. And so now we are listening to the sentencing, both sides, the prosecution and defense, making their cases for what they believe is the appropriate sentence.
Absolutely. I mean, they've given, I think, by my count, 7 reasons, and I can go through each of them. I think there's a few points with the nuance, whether or not Mr. Schwantes, how nuanced he is in his behavior. I think it started with the idea that what he was doing on the form, and then he's able to call it off once he gets the text message and says, hey, you got to stop, you know, and he does. He stops seeing her. It's this idea of what a public defender does. I have no doubt that they can take all the inferences they want, but as 2 public defenders, you know, sitting here together, it's a very small case to deal with a ticket. It's not the type of one where you form the relationship that you're asking those types of questions that you're able to extract the information the state wants. And as public defenders, we would have all loved to have that all day to talk to every client about everything that they went into them. But that's just that's not the nature of those interactions. It's very short, just as the state has put in the transcript with Ms. Rosenberg. I'll
tell you what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, tell me.
It is true, as you pointed out, that
the nature of the act in this case with respect to the e-form was rather minimal, right? I mean, and especially in the context of the ultimate resolution that the office, the public defender's office, was able to achieve for her. So you could look at it from that perspective and say, yeah, you know, what's the big deal here, right?
Yeah.
You know, she had this minor charge. It got reduced even further to a non-criminal violation, I think, or at least a much less serious criminal charge. So what's the big deal? So you could look at it from that perspective, but the other perspective, Mr. Heitman is, I think, and it's where I struggle as well, is this is indicative of a much larger mindset that said, I can do this for you, and by doing this, I don't have to worry, at least in this instance, for this one defendant on this minor matter, somebody else asking the wrong question, in quotes, where they might blurt out, well, you know, Travis said I could do this on the case, or Travis said I could do that. Well, why would Travis say anything to you? How do you know him? And then the house of cards comes tumbling down. And so on the one hand, it's relatively minor, but then on the other hand, it's a real slap to the system and the integrity of the system that we rely on. And before I forget, I do want to paraphrase one thing, because this goes to the potential harm to the public defender's office. Mr. Heitman phrased it as, I'm going to paraphrase him, but something to the effect of, well, if you're poor enough, you have to go to the public defender's office in Milwaukee. And I would paraphrase that and say, and despite what my associates, colleagues, friends from when I was a district attorney or a judge, I've always believed this. It isn't that you have to go to the public defender's office. You've got to go to the Milwaukee Public Defender's office, because that's where you're probably going to get better representation on average than you get by opening up your wallet and hiring somebody off the street. And I don't mean to disrespect any private pay attorneys. It's just, it's a reflection of the quality of work that I've seen in my 50-year career around here from the Milwaukee Public Defender's Office. And so it is the harm to that institution that I think is so significant here. So if you want to speak to that.
No, I think there's 2 points you just made. The first is,
And you're listening to the sentencing proceedings that are happening for the former public defender Travis Schwantes, who pled guilty to several prostitution-related charges. And we will continue to monitor that for the last quarter hour before we switch it over to Live Now. But we also want to bring it back home here. There is still so much cleanup. We, are not out of the woods yet. And so MBS releasing some photos of just some of the work that is going on to clean up some of those buildings. There are some school buildings that were significantly affected by the floods, got flooding inside. And of course, school starts for Milwaukee Public Schools 1 week from today. Our Abril Preciado is on this story. She will have the update, the very latest, on whether or not your child's school will be able to open on time, or if there'll be some kind of accommodation made because of the flooding cleanup that continues. And also, where do we stand after a summer of lead remediation, lead cleanup in those buildings that were deemed to be unsafe? Where are we with that cleanup? Will students return to their schools that they were not able to return to at the end of the school year? So look for that story coming up on our Fox 6 News newscast beginning at 4 p.m. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to tell you how you can get in touch with 211 and some of the things that you really need to make sure that you're documenting so that you are all ready if and when federal aid does become available.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Milwaukee Public Schools in a scramble like many school districts to clean up after August, the historic floods. MPS has completed flood assessments, so that is some good news there. 24 of the district schools were affected in some way by the recent flooding. 22 of those schools, the impact was minor, and the district was able to address those issues immediately. But as of August 11, most MPS schools were unaffected by the rain and flooding, so there is some good news there. But there are 12 schools, because of the age of the building and the prevalence of asbestos in some of the tile work, that MPS is also bringing asbestos experts in. So this is another wrinkle into what is happening with MPS, trying to get things cleaned up and ready for students. Some of the larger impacts, and apologize for going back and forth, some of the larger impacts because of flooding were to Riverside University High School. There was a classroom that was heavily flooded. Obama School of Career and Technical Education, water in the boiler room. The district has been in contact with those school families, and all affected schools also receiving messages. 12 schools, because of their age and the prevalence of asbestos in some of the tile work, now is another issue. So the air will be tested in affected areas before school reopens. So regardless of whether this is a minor issue or a major issue, this is from the district website. The district will continue, it says, to monitor affected schools for moisture that could lead to additional problems. But there were just so many schools to, at first blush, even if the impact was minor, there was still an impact for these schools. And so we are getting an update. We will have more for you coming up on our news at 4 this afternoon, beginning with that. On the lighter note, he put a ring on it. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce announced their engagement. And all you people who said it wouldn't last. I mean, when this broke, I follow several news services. My phone just started ding, ding, ding. You would think that, something like of worldwide importance had happened. No, just Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have announced that they are engaged. So that is one of the stories that we are following for you, because no story is too great or too small for us to cover here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. A little earlier, we showed you, took you to space. The Falcon 9 made another delivery to orbit, taking a satellite for Luxembourg, defense satellites for that country. And so basically, what Falcon 9 has kind of morphed into, it's a delivery service. And so we've seen dozens of launches take place from California and Florida, and the mission for most of these has been the same. It's to take these payloads as far as orbit, then those payloads disengage and continue on their way, and then the Falcon 9 returns to Earth. So it is quite remarkable that we are now in the age of reusable rockets, and this all took place just in a matter of 8 minutes. So that is truly remarkable. So what else is happening? It is decision day for all teams around the NFL. They have to cut their rosters. And so our sports teams following this. This is devastating, I'm sure, to all those who have hung out with their teams, the Packers, those who have been drafted. Each team has 91 people right now, and they all have to trim their rosters down to 53, and the deadline to do that is 3 p.m. Central Time. So if you survive until 3:01, congratulations, you're a Packer. We'll have a rundown of who's in, who got cut, what this means, but it doesn't always mean goodbye. Teams do tomorrow is another window that opens tomorrow morning, where as many as 16 players can be brought back for the practice squads. And that starts tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. our time. So there is still some hope. So if there are players who got cut from the roster today, they still may have a little bit of hope that they may be assigned to be part of the practice squad. But all across the NFL, teams are making that decision. They're going over the stats. They're looking at tape. They are comparing notes. How is this going to add? How is this going to build to our team? What do we need to bolster? And so from 91, by 3:01 p.m. our time, each team is then going to be set with 53 players going into the regular season. We are also keeping an eye on what is happening in court. This is Travis Schwantes. He is now, this is the sentencing. He is the former public defender who is accused of soliciting women for sex, among other charges. Let's listen.
One or on the felony, and here we are not, jail time is appropriate. You know, Galleon, you know what you start with. But you start here with a person that's broken, and you say whether or not there's any kind of incarcerational needs. Does the public, other than a headline, gain anything from Mr. Schwantes going to prison, to jail? No. Does he gain anything? No, he just loses. There's nothing that's come from that that furthers the interests of justice. Public's not protected anymore for 2 weeks than it has with Mr. Schwantes on the streets for the last 16 months since his arrest or since the search warrant was served. Your Honor, I think that's the appropriate resolution here. No, unless you had other questions.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
For you. Mr. Schwantes, this is your opportunity if you want to say anything. You don't, obviously you don't have to, but.
Your Honor, being a public defender was the greatest honor of my life. And I failed so many people. I failed the women identified in the criminal complaint. I committed crimes by paying for sex, contrary to my oath to uphold the law. Similarly, with 2 former clients, I engaged in immoral, inappropriate, and improper sexual relationships while I was married. And while they saw me as their lawyer, person that they could come to, someone who would help them out with whatever current or future issues they had, I failed my ex-wife and her family by my immoral decisions, by not asking for their help, by being dishonest, and by causing them to reevaluate all the wonderful times we had. I failed the Wisconsin State Public Defender's Office. I failed my former clients. I failed my former colleagues. State Public Defender Bias was my first boss in Racine in 1998, and she's here today. I was a leader and a teacher in and outside that office. I was relied upon as a model. My choices have undoubtedly made their jobs, which are excruciatingly difficult anyway, much more difficult. Even defenders I don't know and have never met have been enormously affected by my actions.
You are listening to former public defender Travis Schwantes speak before he learns his sentence. The felony charge that he has been convicted of or pled guilty to has a maximum of a possible sentence of 18 months in prison, followed by 2 years of extended supervision. Prosecutors pushing for some time, but you heard from his defense saying, what does this serve? That they feel that the damage has already been done. Schwantes did resign as a public defender, which is necessary if a person has been convicted of a crime. They must notify the State Office of Lawyer Regulation and the Clerk of the Supreme Court within 5 days of the finding or conviction. So he did resign of September of last year. We are going to follow this story and have an update for you coming up on our news this evening. A couple of other headlines that we just want to give you a preview of. Vice President J.D. Vance is headed to La Crosse. We're going to pop up President Trump. He is finishing a cabinet meeting, but what the vice president will be talking about is the president's big, beautiful bill, which is now a law. He will stop at a steel manufacturing plant to talk about how the law is improving the steel industry. He will be in La Crosse on Thursday, and of course, Fox 6 will be there to cover that part of the story. We also want to just give you an update on where we stand on flood damage reports. 23,000, more than 23,000 reports have been logged already with 211. Close to 8,500 structural damage reported. Milwaukee, Washington, Waukesha, Ozaukee counties all filing reports. And of all those reports, you can see the majority of those reports are from Milwaukee, 19,451. And so the wait is on to find out if this disaster will be declared a federal disaster, which would then open money up for flood victims looking to just rebuild their lives. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk. Just so much is happening here, but we leave you with Packers football news. It's D-Day, Decision Day. The teams are now, they've got 31 minutes on the clock to cut the players, to get down to a roster of 53 players from 91. You can imagine some tense times in the locker room, and just like that, when those players are cut, their names are removed from the lockers, but there is one little glimmer of hope. Tomorrow starts another window for NFL teams. All 32 teams can then sign 16 players to be part of their practice squads. And they have until 3 p.m. tomorrow. Tim Van Voren, the whole sports team, will have all of that. Thanks for joining us on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Have a wonderful Tuesday afternoon.